You lived through it. Disco didn't invent the one-hit wonder, but it perfected the machinery that turns an ordinary person into a temporary god. A frozen fish plant worker in Hull becomes a global phenomenon. A Philadelphia postal clerk records a 4-hour session that sells 500,000 copies. A drummer earning $40 a week discovers his voice can move millions. These aren't career arcs, they're lottery tickets. One spin of the wheel, one moment when everything aligns, and then the machinery stops. The question isn't why they faded, it's why anyone expected them to stay. Earth, Wind & Fire's Saturday Night in 1977 arrived not from ambition but from a guitar warm-up. Morris White had spent years as a Chess Records session drummer, earning $15 per side, playing jingles. Al McKay developed that riff while the tape was rolling, a spontaneous gesture captured on a 24-track Ampex machine. The song hit number 4 on the R&B chart and number 21 on the Hot 100. But the real madness was the album itself, certified double platinum, a time capsule of pure funk. Then Charles Stepney died during the sessions. The group shifted toward polished disco. Saturday Night became a specific 1977 moment never repeated. Philip Bailey later called it the peak of their essence of the groove. 12. Chic's Dance 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 began with Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards living on $10 a day food stipends, backing up the Apollo Theater circuit. They were invisible men in a backing group called the Big Apple Band. Then Rodgers remembered a 1920s marathon dance catchphrase, Yosa, 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 from a film he'd seen in 1969. $1 million copies sold in the first month, number 6 on the Hot 100. The blueprint for disco itself, yet every major label rejected them. They had to sell the master to a subsidiary that was collapsing into bankruptcy. Like Earth, Wind & Fire's Maurice White, Rodgers understood something crucial. One silly dance track provided the leverage for everything that came after. Here's something that hurts. Only 1% of viewers on Music Express FM are subscribed. 99 out of 100 come for the ride, feeling the energy, discovering songs that hit right in the chest, yet you haven't joined us. Why walk away when the engine is running? Subscribing costs absolutely nothing, but it guarantees you'll always catch the next great track before anyone else. This isn't just a playlist, it's a movement. Don't listen from the sidelines. Be the 1% that fuels the music. Hit subscribe and stay on board. 11. The Pockets were discovered by Verdine White of Earth, Wind & Fire after performing on the East Coast circuit. They recorded Come Go With Me at Wally Heider Studios in Los Angeles using the signature kalimba sound and the EWF horn section. Number 17 on the R&B chart, number 84 on the Hot 100. The song became a cornerstone of the UK jazz funk scene and later a staple of rare groove compilations. But 3 Columbia albums couldn't replicate that first success. The disco era collapsed. The label shifted focus. The band disbanded. Al McKinney and Kevin Barnes moved into music education and session work, viewing their brief tenure as a masterclass in excellence rather than a betrayal. 10. Slave formed in Dayton, Ohio, rehearsing in a high school and playing small clubs like the Ghetto Palace. Mark Adams developed the signature sliding bass line while experimenting with a Fender precision bass in a garage. He wasn't aiming for technical perfection, just a party atmosphere. The track reached number 1 on the R&B chart in 1977. A definitive anthem of the Ohio funk scene, A Tribe Called Quest sampled it decades later. But immediate internal friction followed. Lead singer Steve Arrington departed. The band couldn't replicate the crossover pop appeal. When Mark Adams died in 2011, his estate confirmed what the Dayton sound had already proven. One perfect groove can become a permanent blueprint for modern funk and hip-hop. 9. The Emotions. Sheila, Wanda, and Jeanette Hutchinson sang as the Heavenly Children in Chicago, balancing gospel circuits with their father's strict religious oversight. Skip Scarborough presented the demo to Morris White, who arranged their unique vocal pyramid during 1977 sessions at Hollywood Sound Recorders.
You don't understand. You think I'm changing.
The single peaked at number 7 on the R&B chart, number 44 on the Hot 100. Later, over 40 artists sampled it, including Mary J. Blige. But like Slave's internal collapse, the Emotions faced their own rupture. Jeanette's 1979 departure and a legal battle with Maurice White over royalties and management.
You don't understand. You think I'm changing.
In 2013, Wanda Hutchinson confirmed the song's legacy, calling the harmony a divine connection that sustained them through the industry's volatility. 8. Rufus, Mickey Howard, and the band spent years in the Chicago club circuit under the name The Ghetto Lights, facing financial instability before a 1973 rebranding. Earth Song was born from spontaneous studio improvisation. Chaka Khan's vocal runs captured on a demo tape that seemed too experimental for radio. Top 20 on the R&B charts in 1977, sampled in hip-hop tracks decades later. But Chaka Khan departed for a solo career in 1978. Internal friction mounted. The specific chemistry that made the song possible evaporated. The band dissolved in the early 1980s. In retrospectives, members stated that 1977 represented their peak creative freedom, viewing the song as a permanent testament to their collective synergy rather than the beginning of something larger. 7. Rod Temperton composed early songs while working at a frozen fish processing plant in Hull, England, commuting between shifts to play keyboards for a German-based soul band. The signature moderate disco rhythm was inspired by the mundane hum of German autobahns, Written on a Wurlitzer electric piano in a cramped apartment above a grocery store. Heatwave's The Groove Line peaked at number 7 on the Hot 100 in 1978. So grab your friends, get the train coming through. 1 million copies sold, a permanent fixture of roller disco culture. Then in 1979, lead singer Johnny Wilder Jr. was paralyzed from the neck down in a car accident. The band's momentum vanished. Temperton pivoted to become a full-time songwriter for Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, proving that one frozen fish melody could fund a 40-year legacy in production. 6. Barry White spent the early 1960s as an A&R man for Mustang Records, earning $40 a week while living in a small house on West 48th Street in Los Angeles. He originally wrote, "Don't make me wait too long for another male artist." But his partner Glodin James insisted he recorded himself after hearing his rough vocal demo.
No vocals, you got what I want, and girl, I want it all.
The song became a staple of the 1977 disco era, peaking at number 21 on the R&B chart.
Darling, please, don't make me.
A cornerstone of the platinum-selling album, Barry White sings For Someone You Love. By the early 1980s, synth pop and the disco sucks movement left him dropped from 20th Century Records. White later stated, "I never wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be a producer," confirming his vocal stardom was secondary and fortunate. 5. Frankie Beverly spent 15 years fronting the Blenders and Raw Soul, traveling in a cramped bus through Philadelphia and San Francisco, struggling for recognition, while Marvin Gaye observed them as a mere support act. Then Marvin Gaye's girlfriend Jan Hunter convinced Gaye to see them perform at a small club. Gaye took them on tour, insisted they change their name to Maze, and helped Beverly secure a deal. Happy Feelings peaked at number 12 on the R&B chart and anchored an album that remained on the charts for 38 weeks. Like Barry White's journey from A&R man to reluctant vocalist, Beverly's transformation was driven by someone else's belief in what he could become rather than his own industry connections. 4. Teddy Pendergrass spent years as a drummer for the Cadillacs and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, earning a weekly salary while others took the spotlight. Producers Gamble and Huff utilized a Sigma Sound Studios session where You Can't Hide From Yourself was captured in a single take to showcase Pendergrass's transition to a solo lead.
Look in the mirror, there you are.
The track peaked at number 28 on the R&B charts in 1977.
Understand who and what you are before you can go any further.
Later, it gained a second life as a cornerstone of the UK rare groove scene and a sampled loop for Mary J. Blee's 2005 hit Enough Crying, but on March 18, 1982, his Rolls Royce hit a guardrail on Lincoln Drive in Philadelphia.
Look in the mirror, there you are.
Spinal cord injury, paralysis. The momentum of his solo ascent was permanently altered, though Pendergrass found new purpose through his foundation for spinal cord injuries. 3. Mick Jackson was a jobbing session singer in West Germany, living in a small flat, having spent years performing in military clubs and recording demos that failed to gain any traction.
I just can't control my feet. I just can't.
He and his brother David wrote Blame It on the Boogie in 1977 after noticing a boogie trend in a local disco.
Magic music bruised me. That dirty rhythm fools me. The devil's got them.
Their manager Ron Weisner heard the demo at Meet 'em in Cannes and flew the tape to the U.S.
Can't take your eyes off me. I don't blame it on the sunshine.
The Jacksons' version reached number 8 on the UK singles chart and number 3 on the US R&B charts.
Don't you blame it, sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight.
A battle of the boogie erupted where Mick Jackson's original and the Jacksons cover occupied the charts simultaneously in September 1978. Despite the global success, Mick never achieved another top 40 hit, eventually pivoting to writing library music for television. 2. Brick was a local Atlanta bar band playing covers for $30 a night while members worked day jobs at the post office and in construction. Lead singer Jimmy Brown accidentally combined the words disco in music during rehearsal to describe their hybrid sound. Dusic was written and recorded in a single 4-hour session. The track peaked at number 1 on the R&B chart and number 18 on the Hot 100 in 1977. Over 500,000 units sold. Overnight transformation from local laborers to gold record recipients. By the early 1980s, the Daz and Dusic fad evaporated as disco fell out of favor. Members returned to session work and regional teaching roles. Jimmy Brown continues to perform the track at heritage festivals, stating that the groove remains his proudest contribution to the Atlanta music scene. 1. First choice, Rochelle Fleming, Annette Guest, and Ursula Herring were working-class singers from Philadelphia who spent 6 years at Philly Groove Records without a top 10 pop hit. Norman Harris recorded Dr. Love at Sigma Sound Studios using a rhythmic gallop guitar technique and a toy-like glockenspiel to create a bubblegum soul sound specifically for the disco dance floor. The song peaked at number 6 on the R&B chart and number 1 on the disco action charts. Later, it became a cornerstone of the Chicago house movement through Tom Moulton's 11-minute A Tom Moulton Mix. By 1980, the group disbanded after their final album, Breakaway, failed to chart. Members transitioned into session work and local performances as the disco era collapsed. In 2014, Rochelle Fleming stated that Dr. Love remains the song fans demand most, affirming that the record's longevity justified their entire career